DIYer behind LemonThistle.com. Today I am excited to be back with another Cricut vs. Silhouette challenge. Silhouette vs. Cricut challenge. Alexis made the graphic, and she is Team Silhouette.
For this week's Silhouette vs. Cricut challenge, we are taking on Printable Adhesive Vinyl. We will walk you through all the steps of printing, cutting, and applying printable vinyl using your Cricut or Silhouette. We are using 3 different brands of printable vinyl so you can see how they compare, and we will try to answer all of your printable vinyl questions, like how will it hold up to wear? And do I need transfer tape or what? Be sure to watch both of our videos whether you are a Silhouette or Cricut user for lots of ideas on how to create beautiful, colorful, and detailed vinyl designs super easily with printable vinyl.
I am doing this challenge with Alexis from Persia Lou, and she's taking on Silhouette, and I am Team Cricut, and I'll be using my Cricut Maker for all of these projects. Today's material that we're taking on is printable vinyl. This is something that I have never used before, so you're getting a peek inside my first attempt and my second attempt, because the first attempt did not go so well for me. One thing that you will notice about my DIY is that I am pretty impatient, and because of that I'm not great at reading directions, and that one really bit me on the butt this time. I wrecked every single project that I tried, and I had to go buy more material to do them again. But I will say that once I read the directions, smooth sailing. So even though I'm using the Cricut Maker for this project, all of these steps and instructions are going to be the exact same if you have an older Cricut or even a new Cricut Explorer. I also have a Cricut Explorer Air that I use sometimes, and it works the exact same for everything unless you are cutting fabric and you need your rotary blade. The Maker is the only one that can do that. So for the sake of these projects where we're using a vinyl, then any Cricut will work the same. The back end, the Design Space, it's all the same. Before we get started, if you haven't yet subscribed to my channel, I would so love if you did that below so you don't miss any more DIY videos. Alright, so for this video I made 4 different projects. I wanted to test out a few different things. But first, let's talk a little bit about print and cut. This is a feature that I had never used before. All it means is that you print on your material, whether that be paper or cardstock or in this case printable vinyl, before you cut it out. And specifically it means that the design cuts out around the edge of the printed design. So that's why you're limited by this black bounding box. What the black bounding box is what the Cricut sensors pick up to know where the material is exactly placed to make sure that it cuts out around the design. When you click Make It, the first thing that you'll be prompted to do is to print your design. This hooks up with whatever printer is already hooked up on your computer. That was really easy to do. I had no problems printing using my inkjet printer. Once it's printed, it will print this black bounding box around the edge, and you can load that directly onto your Cricut mat. Once you've clicked I've printed it, then you can go on and connect your Cricut machine. Load up your machine and hit cut. Before it cuts, it goes into text that bounding box with its sensors, so it does take a little bit longer than a traditional cut. Once the design has cut, you can go ahead and unload your mat and you can weed your design. So that is the basics of the print then cut feature on Cricut. Now let's get into the projects. The first is this box here. I added my daughter's name on the bottom and watercolor letters. So these ones are actually a watercolor pattern that I had purchased, and then I cut the letters out of that. So I uploaded the pattern as an image, and then I used the slice tool to slice the text out of that. Okay, so let me walk you through it. To upload an image, you hit upload, you select your image, and for a pattern like this, where you don't want to cut out the individual pieces, you just want to have it as a pattern, you can choose complex image and don't erase any areas, just leave it as it is and load it in. Then you can insert it onto your project and size it however big you would like. Then it's time to add your text or whatever shape you want to cut out of the pattern. So for me, that was the word Aubrey. Once I found a font that I liked, I sized it accordingly and I laid it over the pattern. So keeping in mind that my max width was 6.75 inches, I made it into 2 lines of 3 letters each. And then when I laid it over the image, I selected both the font and the pattern and I clicked the slice tool in the layers tab on the side. What this does is it makes 3 separate layers. It makes the original of both, and it makes one where it's sliced out, and that's the one that I want to leave showing when I go to make it. Second, I made this mouse pad, and this is a watercolor pattern that I painted and scanned in to use. And what I really like about the printable vinyl is that you can get textures that you can't get in normal vinyl, so things like watercolor, which is really beautiful. You will notice that this decal is not the full size of the mouse pad. And that is because the biggest downfall that I think Cricut has with the printable vinyl is the print area is pretty small. For an 8.5 by 11 sheet of printable vinyl, you can only print 6.75 max inches. That's inches. So this is as big as the circle could get. That's pretty small, right? Because I was into the watercolor idea, the other one I did is this laptop decal that I made, and this one says hard at work or wasting time. That's just one that I lettered and scanned in and then created a white border around. And this one cut a little bit funny because it was a larger design and because it was a little bit more detailed. I found by the bottom it was kind of off track, so I don't know if that's my sensor or if that's just user error. I'm not really sure. But this one, I mean, the top word worked out really well, and you can kind of see it get more off track as you get down to the bottom. But regardless, how cool is it that you can cut out watercolor lettering on vinyl? Last but not least, I made these teddy bear wall decals. And so these are ones that we're going to be giving to the hospital. And I was looking at making them out of regular vinyl before this challenge came up, and the amount of vinyl that the designs took, because there was a black teddy bear in the back that everything sat on top of, and then there was a brown layer, and then there was a light brown layer, and then there was all the red and all the yellow. And so to do all of these bears, it was like sheets and sheets and sheets and sheets of vinyl. So by flattening the images and making them into print and cut images, I was able to make way more with way less material. So I think that that's a really fun way to use the printable vinyl. Then you're only cutting out 1 layer of vinyl for those transfers instead of like 7 for each bear. Let me tell you the catch with printable vinyl. You can't use transfer paper. So if you have been used to using regular vinyl in the past and you like to do little delicate designs, printable vinyl can't do that. And I know, I found it the hard way. So I tried to use transfer paper on these designs, just assuming it would work fine. And as I'm putting it on, I'm kind of thinking like, oh, I hope that the ink is set enough. And I put it on every single design that I made instead of testing one first. Rookie mistake. And guys, it doesn't peel off. The transfer paper sticks so well to this vinyl that it won't peel off. And what it does, it pulls off some of the color. So I don't know if that's just the transfer tape I was using, but the instructions do say apply it by hand. It doesn't specifically say in big bold letters, don't use transfer tape. I would like if they added that in there though. So that means that the designs that I did here are kind of as intricate as you can get, which I know isn't really a big deal because if you're printing a design, it's probably going to be a little bit bigger anyways. But with something like the watercolor letters where there was lots of little pieces, that made lining them up a little bit more tricky. And so I could have measured and put some tape on to make a straight line, but because I'm an impatient DIYer, I just stuck them on there. So it didn't look quite as good and as balanced as when I designed it when I printed it. The other downfall to printable vinyl, and this is specific to Cricut and to Silhouette printable vinyl. I used the Cricut printable vinyl because it's what was available at Michael's, is that it's not waterproof. And by that I mean you couldn't put it on a water bottle and then wipe the water bottle clean. And I know that only outdoor vinyl is really good for that sort of thing, but Alexis was telling me that Oracle has one that has a clear sheet that you put over top of this printable vinyl. So I would love to try that one next. But I don't have it, so you'll have to go look at her video. The other thing that I played with is the bleed option. So what the bleed option is when you're printing, it will print a little bit extra so that when it cuts, there won't be any white edges. This was really great for the floral letters as well as the mouse pad where the pattern could kind of bleed over the edges. I didn't like this on the watercolor letters because it made the edges less crisp. So I would say if you have a pattern, use it, you'll love it. But if you have a specific design that has really clean edges, don't use it, you'll be bothered by it. You can see as I'm peeling off the excess vinyl here, the excess floral pattern that it cut away, and that's because I had bleed turned on.
All right, I'm gonna wrap it up at that.
Thank you so much for watching. I hope that you enjoyed this video. If you did, I would so love if you gave it a thumbs up below and hit that subscribe button so you don't miss any more DIY or decor videos. You can find all the videos in this series in the playlist, and if you have a suggestion of a material or a topic that you want us to cover, whether that be the design software or iron-on transfer on shirts, I don't know, let us know in the comments so that we can take those in and schedule them in for the future. See you next time.